Oh, hello everyone. I'm sorry, but you've got me tonight. I've just noticed. Does anybody see anything on YouTube? I'm not reading anything.
I've just checked it, and it seems to be on a different thing. So it's still waiting on the notification with the other people watching. So I've just checked.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing anything either.
mine's not playing. So,
Oopsie.
yeah. So I knew this was going to happen because Andy said he set it all up.
Don't see any activity.
Nope.
No.
Have all our viewers forsaken us?
No, there's people in the chat.
Was it
people
something
there.
they had said, perhaps?
13 people are waiting, and there are people talking in the chat.
Okay.
So I guess
Yep. That's what I
let them know
got.
we have some technical difficulties here.
Yeah, because when I look at the schedule of streaming, mine still says there's no stream. So we're probably streaming somewhere because we're live. Let me just do something.
All right, I just threw something in the chat there.
Let's go back. Space Oddities live.
Well, I'm just messaging.
Begin each morning with the secret chair Tai Chi program. Focus.
Right. Yes, we are live. Unfortunately, we're on another channel. An Artemis 1 update or something, it says.
Oh boy.
So it says Project Artemis update. So I think we're overriding that. So right, hang on, wait. What I could do to carry on. I've just put something in the chat.
I've just put something in already.
Yeah, I'm putting this on the. Yeah.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah. Can you just tell them to search? They're all leaving there. Search. Well, in fact, they may come on actually.
Yeah. Right. Right. Okay. Yeah, we're on the Project Artemis one. You just have to go back one.
Yeah. Deep burritos here.
Yep. Okay.
So we have one person who made it. What are they doing differently? What are they doing?
On the old stream, if you're still on it, Rog, can you just tell them to log off and then log off to the first Space Oddities stream they see? It should be on Artemis update. So it's actually called Project Artemis, NASA Project Update. That's where we're on. So hi, Deep Burrito. Sorry about this. And Kenneth. Hi, Kenneth. We've got a bit of a problems and all that. It always happens when I'm on. So, you know who to blame. Andy's away. He's enjoying a few rum and cokes. He's at a barbecue for St. Patrick's Day of all things. And he's not even Irish. And he lives in Spain. But yeah, no, he's having a fine time.
Okay.
So welcome to those people who've managed to make it towards us. I do apologise for this again. What we're going to talk about tonight is, or Lou's going to talk about tonight, is isolation on the moon or on any planet if you happen to find yourself just there on your own. Bit of a Martian theme going on today. So yes, I mean, it really would be quite a terrifying thought when you think about it. You're all alone. I mean, even worse on the moon because you can see home. So it would be a bit of a problem. A bit of a nightmare for you. Yeah. So we're still more people are coming in there. They're finding us now, so that's good. again, I apologise for this. I had a funny feeling we were going to have a big problem. Things weren't lining up, and of course, that's exactly what's happened. This was all last minute, but here we are now. So thank you, Deep Burrito, for your donation, and Gerard for yours as well. Every penny is welcome. So I think what we'll do is I'll see Kenneth, Deep Burrito. Dave Williams is here. I see. Okay. Yes. So yeah, keep, if we can just sort of like redirect people to this, if you can, then that'll be great. But so what we're going to do, Lou can't spend much time with us today. He's got better things to do, and he's got to wash his hair and all this stuff. But anyway, so what we'll do is we'll go straight to Lou, and who's going to give us the nightmare scenario of being isolated on the moon. Over to you then, Lou.
Okay, you want to bring it up? I uploaded it.
Oh, okay, then let me just come down here. There we go. There we go.
So lonely. So lonely. I'm coming to you today from Marymount University, where I teach astronomy, and where Dave's wife used to teach astronomy, actually, some years ago. His ex-wife who unfortunately passed away. And so when I talk to my students and I try to explain to them why it's so exciting that we have eclipses where the moon moves in front of the sun, or transits where a planet might move in front of the sun, or even just conjunctions where things get close. I tell them that astronomers are really lonely people, and so anytime any two things get even close to each other in the sky, we get excited and we call each other. It gives our lives meaning. It does. So I have a question for our audience. You can type it in the text in the chat. What do you think when I walk into my class? What do you think the first thing I tell the class to do is? What would you think? The first thing I say when I walk into the class. Let's see if we have any responses. And I can ask our talented group of astronomers, what would you think?
Well,
Deep Burritos, turn off your phones.
Yeah.
That's it. Pretty close. Pretty close. I'm a little more general. I say, electronics down, please. And so sometimes they kind of do say hello to your neighbor. Won't you be my neighbor? And they'll take their laptop screens and they'll just kind of close them a little bit. Or if they have a book, a backpack or something, or a purse or on the desk, they'll put their phone behind it and think I don't see. They live and die by these things, by these connections. It's like being disconnected from the Borg for 7 of 9. It's so unsettling, and so we need these human interactions. We're still pack animals. That's our origin. We need interaction, but on the moon and then on Mars, it's even worse. And we will talk about Mars in later shows. But even on the moon, there's nothing. There's no one. So it's a challenge. We've talked about the problems of dust. We've talked about the problems of radiation, the space radiation environment, problems with microgravity, problems with micrometeorites. And today we're going to talk about problems of isolation and confinement. So if we were to live on the moon, that's going to present some profound psychological as well as physiological challenges. due to the extreme isolation and confinement environment. NASA, turns out, classifies isolation and confinement as one of the 5 primary hazards of human spaceflight, noting that being far from Earth in a small space over long periods of time can lead to significant behavioral changes. I wonder what that's about. Well, living on the moon, as we're saying, presents some challenges, some psychological challenges. NASA and other agencies are studying this through missions on the International Space Station, as well as Earth-based analog environments, where they set up the equivalent of what might be a lunar base, but they do it on Earth. The psychological toll stems from a combination of extreme isolation, confinement, and a hostile environment, which poses just so much stress that you wouldn't normally have living on Earth. Astronauts are restricted to small, high-stress living quarters with very small groups of people for months at a time. And I think that's the regimen for Artemis. And this can lead to loneliness and homesickness, missing family, friends, and sensory Earth experiences like the smell of grass or sunlight, at least filtering through the Earth's atmosphere. Interpersonal friction, small disagreements can escalate quickly in a confined group, potentially leading to mission critical conflicts. That's the official name for it. There can be cognitive decline. Prolonged isolation and a lack of varied environmental stimuli can impair decision-making and problem-solving abilities. And we know that the brain likes stimulus. If you withdraw all stimulus from the brain, it will create its own. And then there's a detachment factor, unlike the International Space Station, which is relatively close to Earth. Lunar missions involve a greater sense of being disconnected. Seeing the Earth come up over the horizon as a small, distant object, or even having the Earth be out of view. And this is called the Earth out of view phenomenon, can trigger feelings of insignificance and separation anxiety. I don't know what the problem is there. It sounds like every day I spend. I don't know what the deal is, but okay. Excuse me. I have some lunar dust in the in my office. Okay. So living on the moon presents significant challenges. And so they've done some studies to evaluate the long-term effects of isolation on the human body. One of these studies is called Solus 100, which launched this spring, and it simulates a 100-day mission to measure how prolonged isolation disrupts mood, emotion, regulation, and circadian rhythms. That means your kind of sleep-wake cycle. The Mars 500 analog mission documented a flattening of emotions and disrupted sleep-wake cycles, which are warning signals for future lunar and Mars colonies. A 2022 study entitled Social Isolation in Space, an investigation of Lunark, which is the first human mission in the Arctic moon analog habitat. This study was by Paola Riva and others, and published in Astronautica, and it explored the effects of social isolation and confinement on earthbound moon analog habitats. For this study, two space architects took part in a 61-day mission in northern Greenland to simulate human life conditions in the habitat as a prototype, not perfect, but simulation of a human settlement on the moon. The two crew members independently filled out a time-based diary with self-reported measures on their daily activities and positive and negative emotions, feelings of loneliness, resignation, which would be, I think we can think of that as depression, and desire for social contact and time perception. It turns out that's an interesting addition. The results showed that for either space architect, for both of them, the desire for social contact increased over time. It's not a real surprise, whereas feelings of resignation did not. Moreover, the protective role of specific daily activities emerged. Talking about personal matters and leisure time were associated with a decrease in resignation, whereas talking about personal topics and physical exercising increased the desire for social contact. Finally, engaging in leisure activities increased the perceived speed of time. Well, we know that time is not linear, but how interesting. As part of ESA's SOLAS 8 isolation study, 3 men and 3 women simulated a space mission for 8 days. That doesn't sound like so hard. Actually, that might be quite pleasant. For 8 days in a confined condition with minimal contact with the outside world and following a strict schedule. So I guess cell phones aren't going to work on the moon, right? You don't have mobile access yet. Participants had their own sleeping cabins within the module, and you see a picture of those here. The only areas besides the toilets that were not monitored by cameras, everything else was monitored visually. Participants met criteria similar to those required of astronauts. Other constraints included sleeping in personal sleeping pods stacked in a habitat module. They ate only freeze-dried food, astronaut style. I think that would do it for me right there. I'd go bananas. Showers? Just 2 5-minute showers per week. Personal items were limited to 1.5 kilograms and had to fit in a box smaller than most shoe boxes. No phones, and for most of the mission, no music. These astronauts were selected through a process with medical and psychological screening similar to the process that we use to select astronauts for Astronaut Corps. The study, conducted at DLR's InVHAB facility, was preparation for a further 100-day isolation study in 26. While the environment was tightly controlled, the crew's spirits remained high throughout. This is for the 8-day study. And the results and the analysis of this study are still ongoing. And finally, I found a 2016 paper published in Applied Physiology entitled "The Effects of Isolation and Confinement on Humans' Implications for Manned Space." Sorry, let me try that again. Effects of Isolation and Confinement on Humans, Implications for Manned Space Exploration. And this was by J.I. Pagel and A. Chakir. In this paper, the authors report terrestrial space analogs offer an excellent controlled environment to study some of the stressors during a space mission in isolation without the complex environment of the International Space Station. Participants subjected to these space analog conditions can encounter typical symptoms ranging from neurocognitive changes, in other words, the abilities to think and reason, fatigue, misaligned circadian rhythms, wake-sleep patterns, sleep disorders, altered stress hormone levels, as well as immune modulatory changes, so it can affect the immune system. So after all of this, dear audience, dear Space Oddities audience, I've tried very hard to make the case. There's space radiation, there's space dust, there's space micrometeorites, there's low gravity problems, there's isolation and confinement. I hope you all are reconsidering your applications to NASA for the Astronaut Corps. And I will leave it at that. those people only looked happy in the picture. I'm sure they were paid to smile for that picture.
Well, with that experiment you were just talking about, being 8 days, that's just sort of like an extended holiday, isn't it? So, when you know that you've got an end date that's pretty close, I can't, because I should think that it's not that hard to. You're not going to get that depressed.
So you say that, and yet I kind of agree with you. It might be, if you're an introvert, it might be a real, blessing. But again, I can barely get my students to put their phones down for one class. It's really something. So who knows?
Well, they've got to stay connected to the collective, haven't they?
Yeah.
So I mean, but that's where the real education is online. See, you can't sit in a classroom and take a professor's word for it. So which is a sad state of affairs. But yeah, no, it's an interesting story. But thoughts. I mean, what do you think, Dave? What would you think if you were stuck on Mars or something like that with no chance of being able to return to Earth?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine. I remember when I was a graduate student at UCLA, and they had when you walked in the building, they had this advertisement for a program where you could winter over in Antarctica. And basically, at the South Pole, I mean, they had seismometers there, and they needed someone to run the seismometers, and they wanted people to do it. And I remember thinking, wow, that might be kind of cool. And then I really started thinking about what would that be like to be in this isolated. I mean, you're at the South Pole. You're going nowhere for 6 months. It's not like you can take a weekend off, and you're kind of stuck with the same people all the time. And I thought I could imagine that would have maybe be the worst. Forget the temperatures and all the other hardships. I think that might be the worst part of it. I decided, yeah.
I mean, you imagine doing that when it's permanent night. You can't even see outside. It's
right.
I mean, I've seen pictures of the Antarctic stations, and they've actually built themselves a running track, which is quite a long route. But they go out, they ski it, they cross country ski it. They go out on. I was going to say jet skis. Then, of course, it won't be jet skis, will it? They go out on the ski things and stuff like that, just as a distraction. And
they drink a lot. That's what I've heard. They drink a lot.
I hope you mean water.
Of course, they say hydrated. That's what I meant.
They all come back raving alcoholics. That's exactly what we don't want. What about you, Michael? What do you think?
I'm not really sure. I find it interesting about these analog programs they do. Whether I'll do it myself, maybe not. I'm more of a social person, really. Anyway, so yeah, I think you'd have to be very good friends with the people that you're isolated with, and that's one of the things what they find out on when they choose astronaut crews, isn't it? Now they get on with each other and that sort of thing.
That's right. I mean, I think that's the thing, is the fact that you couldn't go out, you couldn't just drop down the pub, you couldn't do this and the other. It's a simple case, and I suppose this is why when they talk about long distance space travel, then it's basically got to be done under some sort of hibernation system. Because you would probably, if you're thousands and thousands of days just doing the same old thing, then you would start to lose it. What about you, Rog? How do you think you'll handle it?
Well, I'm sure the first few days will be okay. Then it might start to get a bit weird.
Exactly.
Sure, I got just bring a load of books and stuff, War and Peace and things like that.
Just something, a table book or something like that. Something you can just flip through. Of course, you won't get your delivery of Sky at Night and Astronomy Now and things like that. So
No.
yeah,
Or
it's.
Or in
I mean, the thing is, I'd have.
deliveries.
I mean, I'd have no problem at all because the voices in my head would keep me amused.
Great. I thought it was
thanks.
interesting. I thought it was interesting that Lou said they did a study. They said no music or limited music, and I'm guessing it's because if you have a group of 6 or however many people and you're in this one place, then everyone's gonna have to listen to whatever music's playing, and maybe not everyone's gonna like that kind of music. So they just decided just forget the music. Which I can understand. I can imagine.
I think that's an interest. Right, that kind of surprised me too. Of course, there are earbuds, right? You can put in, and you remember the movie The Martian?
Yeah.
Mm.
And people had brought what were they? I guess CDs or something, whatever those things are, to play on Mars.
Yeah.
And Matt Damon was not happy with the selection he had, I remember.
Yeah.
But I also remember the crew deciding whether or not, so what is it? I don't know, it's like 6 months to Mars, 6 months back or something like this. And they were about to do it again. They had to make a decision whether they were going to do it again. So to be away for, essentially 2 years. And of course they decided to, and everything was great in the movie. I wonder.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a question, a remark here.
I'd be a bit concerned if Kurt Russell was there. The Thing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, but that was a remake. It wasn't as good as the original.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ian says you can go off people though. It would be a nightmare if you had a long-term argument with others.
Yes.
Yes. Well, if they're wrong, they're wrong. Just let them get on with it.
Billionaire Tito was said to have been planning a mission to Mars, not a landing, but take off from Earth, go around Mars, and come back to Earth. And Earth is in a different place in its orbit. And he wanted to send a married couple.
Right.
I thought, dear God, only one of them is going to return.
But don't you remember? Wasn't it one of the early Apollo crews? They didn't get on with each other. Apparently, is that right?
Well, there
Apollo
was
7.
Yeah, Apollo 7
Right.
was the bad-tempered one. Yeah.
But they caught colds. I mean, they got stuffed up, and apparently in space it's a horrible experience because your sinuses don't drain, nothing.
No.
Everything just stays in your head, and it's really miserable. So a lot of times they blame that on, but they did. There was still bitterness well after that mission.
All right.
Yeah.
That was called the bad-tempered mission, because I think when they also came back because they were still suffering from colds, they refused to put their visors down on their helmets, because of the claustrophobic effect of we're having a feeling really rough and things like that. I know there was because I think they were actually disciplined for it, if I remember right.
Yeah, they were. They refused to do some of the experiments because they were just too tired, and they said we don't have,
Right.
And it was Wally Schirra, I guess, who was the commander.
Yeah.
And he was apparently he was a pretty stubborn, hard-nosed guy, and he just was telling mission control, I'm just not we're not doing this stuff. But the other astronauts, none of those astronauts ever flew again. And Walt Cunningham blamed it on Wally Schirra. He said that ruined my career, that mission, because Wally Schirra refused to do so much stuff, and so they all got painted with that brush, is the way he put it.
Wow.
Right.
So,
Okay.
I just figured out what I'm going to be when I'm fully retired. Okay, how does this hit you? Lou Mayo, space therapist. Does that grab you?
sure.
I was just going to say, would you do house calls though? Deep Burrito just put here, which is, I think some people can relate to. Married couple. That's a murder suicide.
Murder suicide.
Yeah, so it's thanks for your comments and stuff like that. Yeah, it's very interesting. And the thing is, unless you really experience this, I know, sometimes we sort of like, I mean, look what happened during COVID when people were isolated,
Oh yeah.
and how it affected a lot of people. So, to know that that's basically could be the rest of your life. They're just going to be on your own. Then no pets, no nothing. So yeah, okay. Then thanks for that, Lou. That's very interesting. I mean, you've sold being an astronaut really good. So we're now going to be devoid of astronauts for the next missions. So
Send robots.
yeah, but then again,
but
like we say, space flight is dangerous anyway. So it's not without its risks. So all this has got to be taken into consideration when you've got to. I presume all the astronauts go through psychological tests and things like that. Yeah, I wouldn't get
serious.
past I wouldn't get past the ink blot test. So it's just one of those things and all that. So thanks for that, Lou. That's just basically just everybody just have a think about it. If you've got anything that you'd like to say about it, just pop it in the chat, and we'll see what we can ask you. A vintage computer fest Western Atari programmer who wrote Yar's Revenge and E.T. and Evers is now a therapist.
Therapist.
Yeah, exactly. So so it's like the last few weeks has been very thought provoking, and I think as I said, people it's not a job that you're just going to slip into and think, oh, okay then, because also once you're in space you can't resign. So you're stuck there. Anyway, thanks for that. Right, so I think we best move on a little bit. So I know Lou's got to pop off in a little while, but thanks for that. That was really interesting.
Yep.
And we'll sort of take it from there. So let's just do a little bit of housekeeping, if I can remember how to do this. So what I would like to do is basically thank you for everybody for joining us. And again, I apologize for the mess up. We had a good idea that this was going to happen when we were trying to sort everything out, and we sort of like it missed the link that we actually put up. So again, I apologize. Let's hope you've all found us. I mean, there's 22 of you here, so thank you again. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you'll be patient with us. So there are ways you can also support us. You can buy us a coffee. If you've used the code on there, you can buy us a coffee. And of course, as it says astronomer lives need. Oh, so astronomers. I thought it said they need matter. Of course we do. But astronomers' lives matter. I tell you what, I'm so tired. So astronomers. So you can buy us a coffee. Just click on the link and purchase the coffee. That'll be fine. Thank you very much.
You can buy us a coffee or just talk to us. Anything, any bit of friendship would be.
Yeah, we get so lonely. We get so lonely. We've also got the Space Oddities t-shirts. With the summer coming up, of course, we're all going to need t-shirts and look really cool when you're wandering around Tenerife and Lanzarote and anywhere you're going on holiday, and everybody will recognize you and they'll want your autographs. So yeah, again, just scan the code and that'll take you to the links where they are. They're £20, and remember, if you are ordering from abroad, just please add £10 to the cost for postage and packaging. And then we've got the Space Oddities hoodies. Again, we've got the 2 stars. We've got the zip up the front where the motif is on the back. And we've got the overhead hoodies with the motif on the front. And they're all really good quality. These are £40, and again, add £10 for any overseas orders. So if you go, just click on the links, and that will take you directly to where they're actually you can actually purchase them. So that's that done. So also don't forget to look at think about joining our Patreon. We post on videos up there prior to actually posting them on YouTube. You can also access presentations, which you can use for yourselves if you ever are doing any presenting or anything like that. So do think about joining the Patreon page. And any money that we do receive, which we greatly receive, there is also, sorry, before I finish, YouTube in the bottom right hand corner, there is you can see a little $ where you can make a donation through that if you wish to do it that way. So yeah, any money that is received is literally all plowed back straight into the Space Oddities to produce these shows and keep you entertained, we hope, every Tuesday. It literally everything goes back. There is a cost to this, and some of these things are quite expensive. So yes, thank you very much. Any donation will be well received. Thank you very much. Right, so let me just check. I've forgotten who we got next. So it's Dave. Dave's waving. No, he hasn't forgotten. Okay, then we're going to go. As I've said, as I already know, I need an auto cue. As as I said, what we'll do is we'll go over to Dave now for what happened this week or in the past or something like that. History. How to make
something like that, right?
How to make your panel members feel old and stuff like that. I can remember that. Let me just get rid of this before we. Let's just get rid of this. There we go.
All right.
So if you'd like to,
it's working on it, I think.
are you on there?
Well, you told me it was. All right. That's.
Boo.
So no. That's funny. Okay, I had said share the screen and it didn't.
Hang on, wait. I think what you. Yeah, I know what you've done. It's all right. Here it comes now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So this turned out to be a pretty busy week. Don't know exactly why, but just a lot of stuff, and I had to pare this down even from just all the stuff that happened that I thought was interesting, and hopefully you will as well. March 15th through the 21st. So we did talk some weeks ago, I guess, about the first or the V2 rocket that launched to the greatest altitude. And so on March 15th actually was the first static test firing. So this was the very first. This was the beginning, basically, of the V2 rocket program in the United States. They they brought all the material, tons and tons, literally tons of paperwork, and eventually a lot of the German rocket scientists over to White Sands, New Mexico, and built these V2s. And on 1946, now you're really talking, a year after the end of World War II. So they didn't waste much time on this stuff. They did the first static firing, and that is the first static fired test V2 on its static firing stand in 1946. Okay, and also March 15th in 1806, the first. Okay, so a meteorite landed in LA, France. A little fireball. It landed. They found it, and it turned out to be the first carbonaceous chondrite. Basically, this was the very first object from space where they found organic materials, and this was quite a shock. I mean, this was really an amazing discovery because there were two parts to how people thought about space. Either it was just empty, dead, and there was just nothing but just a bunch of dust and rocks and junk, or there was life out there, and even on Mars and that sort of thing. And so this was an interesting discovery that there was at least the kind of material that you needed for life was there. Okay, but now here we go. Okay, in sort of the history of technology, I guess there aren't many dates where you can say that this date was a definitive change from one era maybe to another. Okay. But I do think we think of the age of flight starting on December 17th, 1903 with the Wright brothers and Kitty Hawk. I think everyone agrees the space age was Sputnik on October 4th, 1957. That was it. And human spaceflight, when we think about the beginning of human spaceflight, everyone thinks of Yuri Gagarin, which was April 12th, 1961. One other date where you can really say it's the start of a new era was actually exactly 100 years ago yesterday. So we are now in the second 100 years of actually having liquid fuel controllable rockets. And that's because March 16th, 1926, Robert Goddard launched the first liquid fuel rocket in Auburn, Massachusetts, from the Assawar farm. He had a farm. He ended up moving to New Mexico when he needed more space for his larger rockets. But the first one flew 41 feet, and it covered 184 feet in about 2.5 seconds. And well, what can you say? This was really the beginning of the era where all of a sudden you could really think about going to space. And of course, Robert Goddard did think about going to space even that early on. He wrote a lot of treatises and things on how you would actually go about going to space, and was even mocked in the New York Times by some writer who didn't understand anything about Newton's laws, about how you couldn't have a rocket in space because it would have nothing to shoot against in a vacuum. So there you go. Well, what can I say? Also, and not coincidentally, obviously, Goddard Space Flight Center was dedicated on March 16th, 1961, 35 years after the flight. Okay. March 17th, 1852, asteroid 16 Psyche was discovered by Annabelle de Gasperis. This is, I mean, presumably you've heard of Psyche because it's this metal-rich asteroid, which is now the target of the Psyche mission, which is supposed to reach it in August 2029. And it is one of the most one of the most attainable large metal-rich asteroids. It's the 16th asteroid discovered, so it's pretty large, and this should be an exciting mission when it gets there and actually sort of finish up the observations first made by de Gasperis. Also, Vanguard 1 launched into orbit on March 17th, 1958. So basically, this is the oldest surviving satellite. It's been in space 68 years as of today. It's in this really highly elliptical orbit, 660 by 3,800 kilometer Earth orbit. So it is actually going to be up there for probably 100 to 200 years longer. We don't know exactly because a lot will depend on solar activity, how much the Earth's atmosphere expands, how much it slows down from various things, and there are a lot of unknowns in such a long orbit, but at least 100 to 200 years is what I've seen since it was launched. And this was actually the first satellite to use solar cells for power. And the Vanguard missions were kind of competing with the Explorer missions to become the first U.S. satellite in orbit. And Explorer 1 won, but Vanguard 1 followed not too long afterwards, I guess. Also in 2011, on March 17th, Messenger becomes the first spacecraft to go into orbit on Mercury. The only other spacecraft ever to go to Mercury was Mariner 10, but it did 3 flybys, just zipped by it, went around the sun, zipped by it again. But Messenger actually went into orbit on, well, what is that? 15 years ago today, and there shows the first picture of Mercury taken from orbit from the Messenger mission. Whoops. First spacewalk also happened this week in 1965 on March 18th. Alexei Leonov. I don't know. This was it was a huge deal. So some of these pictures is a picture camera taken, photograph taken by his crewmate Alexander Belyaev, and the picture in the center at the top there is actually what people in the Soviet Union saw on TV when this was happening. They did a live TV transmission of the spacewalk, and this is kind of what it looked like. So it's kind of pretty amazing to imagine, actually, that to watching this happen on your TV screen, and of course they dedicated stamps to it. It was a big deal, and that's the Voskhod 1 on the launch pad. What happened was that his spacesuit, he now I don't I don't understand exactly why this happened the way it did, because you'd think once what they do is, of course, they put on their spacesuits, they empty the capsule out, and then they open the doors, so there's not this huge pressure, they don't blow the doors off or something. But for whatever reason, he wasn't having a problem with the spacesuit in the capsule, it doesn't seem like. He got out the hatch. Now, the only thing I can think is he pulled himself out of the hatch head first. He was supposed to go back in feet first, so he'd be sitting, in his chair in there, and he'd be oriented correctly. But what happened was, the spacesuit had ballooned so much in the vacuum that he couldn't fit back in the door feet first. And what he ended up having to do was, he had a small valve, and he slowly let the air out of his spacesuit until he could pull himself in head first into the capsule. And then he managed to rearrange himself so he was sitting again in his seat. Apparently it wasn't. Apparently it was pretty difficult, but they managed that. But the other thing about that is the Soviet Union never told anyone this happened, and it turned out that in the United States they figured out that this could be a problem, and so they actually had taken steps to mitigate it, but in the design of the spacesuit, when they did their first spacewalk, and so so they didn't have the problem. But much later on, people were saying if we didn't think of this, it could have been dangerous, and they were never told about it, which was well, that's how it is, I guess. Comet Kohoutek was discovered by Lubos Kohoutek on March 18th in 1973. And, so those of us who remember, it was this big hype about the comet of the century and how amazing this is going to be. In a way, it's too bad that happened, because then Kohoutek sort of became synonymous with, overhyping things and almost like a failure. And yet it was a beautiful comet, and they did a lot of scientific work on it because, in some part, because of the actual hype. There was a lot of planned observations of the comet, probably more than there might have been otherwise, and so they did learn a lot, including a lot of observations from Skylab. But anyway, those of us who were around then do remember the this was in the news all the time about this amazing comet of the century, and never materialized, but it was a beautiful comet anyway, and you can see that. March 19th, 1990, the Hagoromo probe was dropped off from the Hitten probe, and the bottom picture there is the Hitten probe, Japanese probe, and you can see writing on top of it, piggyback. That's the Hagoromo probe. The Hitten probe went into this very high, well, it's an Earth orbit, but so highly elliptical that it passed by the moon. And on about the 7th pass of the moon, it dropped off this Hagoromo probe. And that probe actually went into lunar orbit. Only the third country, behind obviously the Soviet Union and the United States, to orbit the moon, and that's in 1990. Meanwhile, exactly a year later, the Hitten probe kept going on its orbit, and actually a planned aerobraking was the first time that aerobraking was used at high velocity aerobraking to modify the orbit. They purposely pushed the orbit into the upper parts of the atmosphere, and the friction, the resistance from the atmosphere slowed it down enough that it altered its orbit successfully. And then obviously aerobraking since then has become a thing. March 21st in 1684, Giovanni Cassini discovered Saturn's moons Tethys and Dione, and appropriately enough, the picture of, and that's a real picture there, Tethys and Dione, taken by the Cassini spacecraft. And that is Dione in front and Tethys in the back, and they managed to get a picture of everything lined up like that, which is fantastic picture, really. March 17th, 2013, a boulder-sized, and you see there it's estimated to be, they don't know exactly, but 1/3 of a meter wide, about 40 kilograms mass, hit the moon, roughly 90,000 kilometers per hour, and generating a flash of light. Now, about many, 50, 60, 70 objects hit the moon and make visible, but barely visible flashes every year. But this one was 10 times brighter than anything ever measured before. And you can see in the bottom picture, if you can make that out, where the little triangle's pointing to is what the flash looked like for about a second. Just boom, and it was picked up on a bunch of video telescope observations of the moon, and people went back and caught this flash, and so that's the largest one that's been seen. I still believe till this day. I'm not 100% sure of that. And so finally, I don't want us to be Philistines. I always try to find something a little bit out of science. On the various missions, they would have a wake-up song, and the astronauts on the missions got to choose a wake-up song. Mission specialist John Phillips, actually, I went to grad school with him, so so he's a friend. His wake-up song on March 20th, 2009 was "Box of Rain" by Grateful Dead, which happens to be one of my favorite Grateful Dead songs, and I just thought that was kind of cool. And that's all I've got. Thanks.
Oh, thanks on that. That's fascinating. Of course, you mentioned let me just get rid of this. Sorry. Let's go back to the group. Of course, you mentioned 16 Psyche being discovered. Well, of course, that's thought to be the core of a protoplanet, which has been over the years, over the centuries, destroyed the outer rock, all knocked off and all that. So we're left with this iron core, or metallic core, should I say?
Yeah.
And of course, the idea is that they're sending the Psyche mission out there, is the possibility of maybe even mining these asteroids. And the worth that they think at the moment that's being bandied about is, let me have a look at this, it's 10,000 quadrillion dollars.
I saw that. I've seen that too.
Which is 10 to the power of 19. So that's a lot of noughts you've got to write on there. But of course, when you look at something like that, if that is actually true and they were able to sort of bring it back and mine it in orbit or something like that, it would totally destroy the world's economic structure.
Yes. Bad luck if you're investing in gold or
exactly, because because all the precious metals and everything else would be totally swamped. They wouldn't be worth a penny. So yeah, that's one of the problems. So with that, but yeah, there's the because also the probe holds a record, I think, if I remember. I don't know if they're going to repeat it, by using laser communication with Earth. They were using lasers.
Oh, was that okay? There was one, and you're right. Recently, and it did.
They
record,
played,
I guess,
they played a video of somebody's cat, one of the team members' cat, playing, and it was a lot faster, etc. But to do it, if you read the actual description of how they had to literally, the actual laser was in a cage, and it had to detach from the actual. In this cage, it actually had to detach so it was floating free and remain perfectly still and pointed in that direction, because the beam was so narrow for it to be able to be picked up. But to do it, like I say, it had to detach and then float free without moving at any time. It was an amazing system that they used to do it. And to be able to do that, I can't remember the distance. It was astronomical, excuse the pun. But yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. There was something else that you were talking about that I thought I'd like to have a word about. I can't remember now. Of course, in Mr. Goddard, I mean, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have had spaceflight, with chemical rockets. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. There was something else that we'd have had a chat about. Anyway, no. So, what? Anything that you Roger or Michael? Anything you got to? Can you remember? Or any facts about these? What Dave's been talking about?
Mm.
Oh, don't shout all at once. Come on.
Nothing interesting there. Nothing.
Definitely Goddard's. There's got to be up there, hasn't it?
Yeah, he's got to be there. I just can't remember. There was something else there that really would have been worth talking about. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Well, ironically enough, Goddard Space Flight Center yesterday closed because of the bad weather that they were having on the West Coast. Yeah, and it would have been the 100th anniversary, obviously, of the rocket flight.
Oh, that's a shame. I mean,
yeah, and the 65th anniversary of them opening Goddard. And I guess I don't know if they had big plans or not, but apparently. It's. I mean, I worked there forever, and they closed for snow and ice storms, but thunderstorms, that's a first. I don't recall them ever closing for a thunderstorm.
No, because Lou was on about yesterday when we were chatting that their schools were being closed because of thunderstorms. They were expecting some really dramatic thunderstorms, which is understandable. I mean, we're of the age now where kids were expendable. If in the summer, when you get all the big thunderstorms, we were still chucked outside, even if there were rumblings in the distance.
Yeah,
we were expendable, and all we were told is don't stand if you're in a field, lay down. That was all we were told. we were expendable. It said Fred Kilner as wait, let me just get it up over there. Let me just pop up this.
Oh, good. Talking about the
America's Space Museum had senior people talking about the Robert Goddard yesterday, which is good. I mean, there's some of these things you got to remember. I mean, we have the British Planetary Society. Now, you were talking about the V2s. We had plans of actually taking the top off of V2, putting a capsule on the top, and sending an astronaut into space using a V2. But of course, everybody frowned upon that. But later on, NASA engineers looked at the designs and the things and said that it would have worked. So we could have been the first people to put a man actually in space. It probably wouldn't have been an orbit, but it would have been sort of like a up and down sort of job, a bit like the Blue Origins, New Shepard. But so we could have done that. But one of the things that held the United Kingdom back as regards developing chemical rockets was that there's actually a law, an act of Parliament, which says that chemical rockets were banned. We couldn't use them. We weren't allowed to use chemical fuels for rockets. So we could only use solid fuel if we wanted to. So that really did. That's why we sent them over to Australia, because we could get away with it over there.
That's kind of interesting because after World War I, the Versailles Treaty banned Germany from doing all sorts of stuff, but it did not say anything about rockets. And so Germany actually spent a fair bit of effort developing rockets, in part because they really couldn't do anything else as far as armaments or things like that. So they actually probably got a jump start on everyone else. The reason they got such a start on everyone else with their rocketry program was probably partly due to the Versailles Treaty banning everything else and just forcing them to concentrate on that. So it's almost the opposite thing you had. Where that's the one thing that was banned.
Because they were also banned from developing a air force, a military air force. But then again, it was very strange how basically coming up to 1938 and beforehand, there was a proliferation of glider clubs. that appeared. So they were all
Yeah,
getting, they were all getting their skills of flying in
Right.
gliders. So
Right.
they were learning all that, and then of course in the background there were a bit of skullduggery going on. So yeah, because one of the persons, I can't remember the name of the chap who developed the Spitfire. He went to Germany and he saw what was going on, and that was one of the reasons why he decided to develop the Spitfire, because he could see where this was actually going. So and of course the first Spitfire was actually a seaplane, and it was used in plane racing, seaplane racing. That's where it was developed, and it broke world records, and that was our mainstay of fighting off the Bosch. But anyway, then let's move on. Anyway, thanks for that, Dave. That was absolutely fascinating. I wish I could remember that item that was in there. I
Well, if you
really
think
do.
of it.
But there you go.
Yeah, and I
at
see
my
Deep
age,
Burrito. I see
at
Deep
my
Burrito. Yeah,
age,
their
yeah.
Germans are better than our Germans.
Yeah, and well, of course, I mean, Deep Burrito, again, thank you for your very generous $50. Thank you very much, and happy birthday, by the way. And obviously you're on the cherry bees to be so, it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, that money will go to good use. So yeah, we'll buy more coffee and possibly some more t-shirts and that. So thank you for that. That was very, very generous of you. I've lost me list. Let me just see. Right, okay, then what we'll do is we'll go to Roger next. We'll go
Yay.
through what's up in the sky for this week. So over to you, Rog.
Thank you very much.
No
Okay.
problem.
When you're ready.
Oh, you want me to put? Oh, okay, then I'll do it for you. Don't worry. There you
Right, here we go. Right, okay. So off through the latter parts of the month of March, and we're just coming up to a new moon, which will be over the next night or so. So should be clear skies, hopefully, as well for tonight and tomorrow. Maybe we'll see. Don't ask for too much. Okay, so during the clear sky periods, which there might be, we still got Orion up in the sky, although it is now starting to head towards the western horizons. We've still got Jupiter quite high up in the night sky through Gemini as well. And of course, we've got the onset of the spring constellations of Leo and Virgo, also known as the galaxy season. So all's well and good with that. But just before sunrise and before and after the sunrise, we've got Mercury and Mars coming up just before sunrise. Neptune's just about to go behind the sun there. And we've got Saturn quite close behind, and then Venus following on afterwards, which means shortly after sunset, we should get a nice little bright view of Venus. So have a look for that. And as mentioned before, we've got the new moon, which is tomorrow, and then a few days after that, we've got the spring equinox. So that should be good. And as you can see, we've got Venus and Jupiter quite nicely placed at the moment, although Venus is a bit low at the moment. It will start to become a little bit more apparent as the days go on, but there we go. And also try and keep a lookout for the zodiacal light if you've yet to observe it. So onwards to next page. So just to have a look through any possibility of a clear sky and try and see if you can spot some objects to put in for the gallery next week. Okay, so we've got the equinox, although it is the equinox which I was told was today, where we got equal 12 hours of day and night time. So after today, we will start to get some more daytime coming in. So nights are getting a bit shorter. And then, of course, later on in the month, the clocks will be going forward for British summertime. So be on the lookout. Okay. So here's just a reminder, Sunday, during Sunday night, about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, the clocks go forward. So an hour less in bed on Sunday, the 23rd. So
Rod,
that's
is that the 29th? Shouldn't that be the 29th? We'll just have a look. British summertime starts on the 29th.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. So it's the week after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. Just checking.
Hmm.
Just seeing if you're still awake.
I passed.
Okay. You did pass. Well done. So this is a current view of what there is currently available to see on the surface, or part of the surface. There are a few sunspots available. Not as many. Still quite lacking at the moment, but there is a little bit of prominence action going on. And as Daz says, there is a few little holes of coronal variety on the northern and southern hemispheres there of the disk on the right hand side. So more information about that as the evening progresses. So we have a gallery for this week, and we do have a collection of images. We do have a few from Lou. So first of all, we'll see the monkey head from Jerry DeLay, which he did on his C-Star S30. Ooh.
Oh, that's
what
nice.
he's from a little S30. Wow.
That is very
nice. Mm.
You can
He
definitely
did well
see
there.
the actual the head there, can't you? The monkey's face.
Yeah, he's got it got the right orientation to see
Yeah.
it quite clearly there.
That's lovely.
Well done. And one of a few from Lou this week is the horse head, which he took on the S50, and this is 53 minutes of total integration time.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
nice.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, and then at the top you got the Flame Nebula.
Yeah, yeah, with all
Absolutely
the
gorgeous. Yeah,
Well done.
and that was with the 50, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I know.
I don't know. Well, I don't know how much there might be of a crop from that, but
Yeah, I was going to say because it's. I mean, obviously it's all like moved. Well, I'm assuming he's moved it because I've never had so much of the Flame Nebula in there with the 50. But of course, the 30 gives you a much wider,
yes.
wider picture, so you can get them both in, and you can get.
Yes.
Is that almanac?
Almanac, yes.
Almanac
Yes.
in there. So yeah, I mean, it's really good. How I mean, this is a harder image to take for the simple reason almanac usually drowns out all of this if you get it in there, but with this you can actually get quite a big chunk of it. And of course, almanac's on the left-hand side of Orion's belt.
Yes, so, correct. Right. Okay. And then we've got M53 from the C-Star S50.
Oh, that's nice. That is
he
nice.
was on a bit of a roll that night, I think.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, you can see a lot of the stars are sort of like orangey because they're very old stars. And of course, it only looks bright in the middle. It's not because there's really bright stars there. It's because they're just concentrated in that area. But yeah, that's a lovely image.
And not content with one, he got the M3 globular cluster as well.
Oh.
This is only 27 minutes of 10-second subs.
Oh, that's lovely. Absolutely fantastic.
Got some good definition there.
Yeah, certainly has.
Yeah. Right. And then the Perseus double cluster with the C-Star S50.
Yeah, very nice.
Wow. Yeah,
Ooh,
there we go.
Look at that. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, got some nice orangey red stars there as well.
That's right. Yes. These are obviously older clusters, and they are separating. But yeah, that's nice to really capture both of them like that. That's gorgeous.
Okay, and the last one is from me of Jupiter during the weekend. It's not too good, but we have got the great. We have got the great red spot just disappearing off to the side there. But,
exactly, that's a gorgeous view. And didn't you say earlier on that during the show, while we've actually been on the show, we've had two of the moons
Yeah,
go
one's
across?
yeah. There's 2 shadow transits. One which is happening right at the moment, and there might have been one earlier on, a couple of hours ago. But yeah,
Oh,
should be good.
fantastic.
Okay, so that's
Fantastic.
what we have for this week. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for that, Rog. That was good. Remember, if you want to send any images in, Rog, can you remember the email site?
It's gallery@spaceoddities.space.
That's
Thank
great.
you very much. Remember, only one image per email, please.
Yes.
Because other than that, because it sort of like confuses Roger when you've got 2 or 3 of them on there. But yeah,
Yes,
if you can
especially if
just
your name's Tom.
yeah, yeah.
He's
So
terrible.
yeah, so feel free to send any images you've got in, even if some of them are actually of sort of like historic ones for you, something you've done in the past. It doesn't have to be nighttime if you've seen something a decent sunrise, sunset, moonrise, moonset, anything like that, anything to do with the sky and the heavenly bodies, like mine. Then yeah, just feel free to send a photograph in, and we love to see anything, and everything will be shown. I don't think we've ever rejected a picture at all. No, Roger says no, even though he's muted. So yeah, okay then. Right, thanks for that. I do believe actually next up it's me.
Ooh.
So if you'd like to basically just bear with me a second. I've just got to come up here. Right, there we go. Let me just get rid of this so I can see what I'm doing. Right. I want to come over here. Nope, not. Please excuse me, I haven't done this for so long. Where's there it is on the wrong one. Right. I hope you can all see that. You should be able to see in a picture of the sun using multiple wavelengths. Can you see that, everybody? Hello?
Yep, I can see it.
Thank you. I thought I'd lost everybody then. So basically what this is the sun today. Now, I will possibly pop back to this because there's some news I want to tell you about that will actually will help. This image will actually help me explain what I actually mean. So this is the sun today. Now, unfortunately, I mean, people who actually follow me on Facebook and all that, I usually tend to post some images of some movies of 2 or 3 days activity on the sun. Now, unfortunately, I haven't been able to do that for the simple reason the SDO website is currently experiencing issues. The SDO is the Solar Dynamic Observatory. And what it was, if you remember last year, the data center that all the information was collected for the SDO was flooded. That had a massive flood, which it got into the systems. Luckily, they have a backup data center in New Mexico, but that isn't designed to actually be able to hand out the data to the people who actually want to use it. So we did have a long time last year where we couldn't do anything really. So what this is all down at the moment, but also it has a knock-on effect. I also use HelioViewer a lot because it's absolutely fantastic, and you can go back over sort of like months and years to pick out times, and then you can make videos from those times. So that's all down. You can get individual pictures, just sort of like one image at the time, like that image you just saw. But I am now basically I can't make videos to show you what's actually going on. But that doesn't mean there hasn't been stuff going on. Right. So first of all, let's talk about the 11-year cycle, sunspot cycle. Oh, this is the wrong one. This is a radio flux. I do apologize, but it's virtually the same. As you can see, we've come up. We had a little peak towards the sort of like the second half of, well, actually in 2023, and between end of 23 and beginning of 24. Then we came further up, and we had the big peak here just in at the beginning of 2024, at the end of 2024. But since then, it's steadily dropped down again. We're beginning to see a bit of a plateau. As you can see, this is the prediction line of what they actually think the actual going to do. We've still got what, about four years to go before we come to the end of the 11-year cycle. But remember, the 11-year cycle is a guesstimate. It's an average, because some of these cycles, some have lasted as little as 8 years, 8 to 9 years, and some have been almost as long as 14 years. But over the since these have been measured, all the sunspots have been counted and plotted, it runs in about roughly an 11-year cycle. Now, just because we're in the downward cycle, this is where we got all the sunspot, the big active regions. And if you remember, towards basically last year, we had some lovely aurora displays with some big active regions creating flares and CMEs going off. So we had some lovely auroras. But just because we're dropping down now, we're coming out of active region time as such. They are still there, and they're still quite active to a certain degree. But we've got come into what we call, well, what I call the coronal hole season. And I'll explain a little bit better as I go through the pictures. So we seem to have plateaued a little bit now, but we are actually, I would say, now down on the down cycle. Although with the sun, you can never tell what's actually going to happen. So we are on the day. Now, this is the last 30 days sunspots on the face of the sun, and they have been dropping, as you can see, and then look here. I hope you can see my cursor. We had 3 days of nothing. The actual face of the sun was actually devoid of any sunspots, but sunspots or major active regions. So we had basically 3 days here of no active regions at all. That doesn't mean there wasn't stuff going on. It basically means we had no visual sunspots on the actual face of the sun, because at the same time we did have coronal holes. And of course, as we know, coronal holes can give us just as much fun as a CME. So here we are. So here's a picture. The top picture is of the 22nd, of which I was just showing you, of February, where, like I said, you've got no actual black sunspots or anything like that. There is sort of like all this white stuff is active magnetic activity going on underneath just under the surface, which is coming through to the surface, and just up the top there you've got an Earth's for size. And then, of course, then if you come down to the bottom one, this is today's, and you can see this big sunspot here, and also this is a sunspot, and so is this. And there are more that are just beginning to queue up on the eastern side and all that. But there's a big sunspot, and I'll be talking about that in a little while. So that's what it looks like. On March the 13th, we were issued with a geomagnetic storm warning, a G2, and we had, but this was actually not from a CME or a flare. This was actually from a coronal hole stream, which moved past the actual stream, swept past Earth from the sun. It's traveled all the way from the sun. It's come past us, and it was reaching between 600 and 700 kilometers. And the BZ component, and I've talked about that before, the interplanetary magnetic field has been pointing south at times. So as I've said before, you can get all of this and what we're looking for is a BZ, which is south, which means that the magnetic field in the interplanetary magnetic field must be south for it to actually interact with our atmosphere and to bring us auroras. But we did have it did arrive, and we actually reached a K on the K index as a 6, so it was a KP6. Now I know that several places they were able to that a 6 is really good. Is really good. So that means it's going to push the actual radiation into the atmosphere, and it's going to give us auroras at a lower latitude. So here we are. This is when it hit. Actually hit on the 14th. So the warning was on the 13th, hit on the 14th. Now, if you remember, I like to use this. This is the HP30 index, which is exactly the same as the KP index, but every one of these columns is 30 minutes. Because the KP index is every 3 hours. So when you get a warning and says, oh, look, we've gone up to KP6, that could have come and gone because that's been over the last 3 hours. Whereas with the 30, you can watch it climb. You think, well, okay, and I'm going to get the cameras out, or whatever instruments I'm going to get out. And as you can see, it did reach a 6 on the 14th. I know there was some auroras which were came down to quite low latitudes. So look. This was a photograph taken by Phil Scott Wright. Captured an aurora photo below last night. This was taken over Iceland during moderate geometric storm while flying from the UK to Kentucky, USA. What a spectacular sight that is. So that was the auroras that happened on the 14th. And I know that they did come down as far as, I think I saw images from Whitby, which is in Yorkshire. And if it wasn't for the cloud, we would have been seeing it even further down. So this is today's sun. I'm going to quickly flick through these. As I said, I would love these to have been videos, but all I've got is the images. This, as I said, is at the moment the important active region, and I'll tell you for why in just a little while. So we'll just flick through these. I've got several images in different wavelengths, so you can see these massive coronal holes. And as I said, we're in sort of like what we call the I call the coronal hole season, and they become, because when we come on the rise with the sunspots, we did have coronal holes, but some of most of them weren't very big at all. You'll probably find it just to be a little bit like that in the north and south hemisphere. But as we come into the peak of the actual cycle, and then we come down on the descending slope, we then tend to get these coronal holes. I mean, this one actually you can't see it so much on here, but it actually carries on all the way up through here. Remember, this is a sphere, so what we can see here, this bright stuff, is the really good stuff. But as you come round, of course, we're looking at it at an angle, so we can't really tend to see what's going in there. But these coronal holes have been important for an event that's just happened yesterday. Again, here's a magnetogram image, and again, it's 4392. This is the one we're really interested in. And if you just remember back to what where those coronal holes are, it's pinched between these two coronal holes, which I will talk about in a second. So here we are. Now this one, 4394, there used to be 3 active regions here, but 4392 has grown and it's actually absorbed 4394. This one here is just basically it's fading away, and it'll probably disappear before it actually reaches the western limb. So, but that's what it is. And what basically, so this is where we are at the moment. This is just a GIF of that sunspot coming around. This is since it's come onto the sun's face. So just shows it's growing. But on the 16th, around about noon yesterday, UTC, we had a 2.7 M2.47 solar flare. And this, now remember where this actually is on the actual thing. Here it is here, and that's it there, just there, and it's trapped between these two coronal holes. Now we know that coronal holes, they actually send us some enhanced solar wind containing all radiation particles, energetic SEPs we call them, solar energetic particles. They at a varying enlarged speed. They're a lot faster than what they normally are. So we've got these two coronal holes. They're blowing out seps. What they really are is they're showing us areas on the sun's surface where there's very little magnetic activity going on. So we've got very few magnetic loops coming out. So those magnetic loops usually capture all the radiation and everything coming off of the actual sun, the seps itself, and holds them in the sun's atmosphere. But if you've got no loops to stop them, then they will all just pour out. So they're happening here and happening there, and they've got a negative, they've got a magnetism of their own. It's either positive and negative. So let's just tell you what's actually happened. So this actually fired off, as I said, about noon yesterday. It was an M2.4, and this is it. I mean, this has been growing over the time. This is a picture of it today. It was first assigned its number on the 11th of the 3rd, 2026. And it's been growing ever since, and it is still growing at the moment. This beta gamma tells us what sort of active region it is, and I have run through this before, and it's a little bit complicated, but I won't talk about it today. So there we go. So we've had this this event. Now, usually this would be running, but I did this on a bit of a fast, so it should be a movie. But what's happened is yesterday the flare went off, and as you can see, it's travelled all the way across to this is Earth, so it's going to hit us virtually smack on, and this is due to those coronal holes. And as you can see, it's also captured in this. This is the solar wind from those coronal holes on the face of the sun. So they've basically been able to pick it up. They've funneled it, and they've channeled it, so it's going to be more towards us, and it's going to hit us. Here it says it's going to hit us about noon on the 19th. But of course, as we know, this can vary. It could be as early as possibly the late 18th into the 19th, late 18th into the 19th. Or it could move back a little bit. Hopefully, if it moves back a little bit, then we get a chance of seeing some auroras if all the ducks line up. So, right. So I'll just go and explain again what. So, as I said, what's happened is this thing fired off its flare yesterday. The shock wave was literally pinched off here. Just up here on this sort of like this shoreline, let's say a shoreline here of this coronal hole, and this one here. The rest of the shockwave came out all across over here. So with that being channeled, and the fact that we've got the enhanced wind speeds, the solar wind speeds, then there is a good chance that we are going to get something happening on the 19th. So I just thought I'd just run that because we haven't had an update from the sun for a while. So I hope. Sorry, I've got myself stuck. Right. Bear with me. I can't get on me. Right, here we go. Sorry about this. We had this problem a little bit early on. There we go. Sorry about that. So I just thought we'd have an update on the sun. What's going on? We haven't really seen the sun for a few months because of the nasty weather we've had here. I even went to Lanzarote to try and catch some of the sun. And yeah, I did catch some sun, but it wasn't that much better down there. They've been having a bit of a rough time as well. So any questions, anybody? So as I said, we're on the downside of the cycle, but because we're on the downside, no way means that we're past all the excitement. There's still any time that I mean, the warning we had on the 13th was basically, I think it was the 13th, if I remember right, was actually from solar winds itself. There was no flare, no anything, no CME. That was just basically from the high speeds from the solar winds, and the seps encased in them, which gave us auroras to quite a low latitude. And again on the 19th, with that flare that we had yesterday, hopefully we can look forward to possibly some aurora. And in the UK, the weather's on the mend for a little while, so it's behaving itself. So maybe, just maybe, fingers crossed.
Yeah,
So
I've just had an email actually, Daz, from the Space Weather Live team about that M2.7 solar flare yesterday.
yeah,
Obviously the one that you're talking about. So, solar wind model calls for an impact around noon on Thursday,
yeah,
19th of March.
yeah. That's when we're going to get sort of like the first.
Yeah,
It'll actually start hitting us before that.
yeah.
Because as I said, it's embedded in this solar wind and it's being channeled. But until it actually really hits us, we won't know. I mean, if the BZ's north, then we're not going to see much anyway. But the last few weeks, although we've had very few large active regions giving us flares, the solar winds, because Roger will back me up on this, those coronal holes are absolutely massive. And they've been pushing solar wind and all the energy that's encased in them towards us. And they've, if you've been up anywhere near the Arctic Circle, there have been virtually nightly auroras. Yeah, we're not done with it yet. We're not done with it, and we could still have possibly another 4 years before we actually come to the end of this, or it could just drop off again. Because I did originally believe that we were going to have a short cycle this time, but I think I'm being proved wrong because it seems to be plateauing as we come down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions from anyone? Let's have a look. Caught the sun today, but it got away. Oh, bet you burnt your fingers, Eric. We're in a heat wave advisory here. Oh, deep burrito. Oh, okay then. And then deep burrito again. This is in the US. UV index at 8. So yeah, okay. So everybody enjoy the warmth and the sunshine while you can, because we don't know what we've got coming around the corner. It's so fickle at the moment. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that and pick up a bit of an update on the sun. We've got something to look forward to on the 19th possibly, and fingers crossed that we get some more action. So don't think we're at the end of the good stuff that's going to give us some interesting evenings, hopefully evenings. So right. So anyway, I do believe we're back to Roger. And we're doing the constellation of the week. So if you just bear with me, I'll get you. You've disappeared off of here. Where are you? There he is. Constellation of the week. I'm sure I get the right one.
There is
Okay,
only
there
one.
you go, Roger. It's all yours.
Right. So we're into Scorpius. Another one of those 12 constellations that I won't mention about. And hopefully there might be some tidbits of information here that some of you may not have known until you've seen this presentation. So obviously we've got some historical stories regarding the constellation. And in pre-Greek recognition, it was one of the oldest recorded constellations known across multiple ancient civilizations. And in the 2nd century AD, Ptolemy formerly recognized it as one of the original 48 constellations. And it's also known Mur-Gertab, which is a Babylonian name meaning the creature with a burning sting, and is one of the earliest known stellar designations. So even then it was known as a scorpion. So the myth of the story of Scorpius, we've got Orion declared he would save slay every wild animal on Earth, an act of hubris that enraged the goddess Artemis. Ooh, Artemis. That name seems familiar. And then
Been banded a bit.
Artemis, yes, Artemis sent the scorpion to strike down Orion as divine retribution for his arrogance. But both were placed in the heavens on opposite sides of the sky. Orion sets as Scorpius rises, never sharing the night. So there we go.
Yeah.
So that's how they got around that problem. So interestingly, some of you may not have known this. So here we go. Scorpius was originally a much larger constellation, but in the 1st century BC, Roman astronomers separated the Scorpion's claws, the Chelae, to form a new constellation, Libra. So there we go. So Scorpius and Libra were once all in one constellation. How many people knew that already? Yes. So here we are. We got hubris immortalized amongst the stars with the fightings of it. So we've got various interesting bits here. So it's the 33rd largest constellation, covering 497 square degrees, and its best visibility during July when it's fairly low in the southern horizon. Unfortunately, at our latitude, we don't really get to see properly all of Scorpius anyway, because of the position of it. But it's located between Libra and Sagittarius. But as we know, Libra was originally part of Scorpius to start with. So some of the stars of Scorpius. So we all know the brightest one here, Antares, which is a red supergiant. It's 850 times the volume of our little star. So it's quite one of the biggest supergiants that is visible to the naked eye, and there's a comparable red color to the planet Mars. And the Scorpion's tail, Shola and Lesath, all these good Latin names. Lambda Scorpius is the sting, which is the brighter of the pair, one of the brightest stars in the southern sky, and Euskottiae Lesath, which is in the sky, forming the iconic cat's eyes double point, which is why we've got that little graphic there. So the bright star Scorpius trace one of the most recognizable shapes in the entire sky with a J curve likened to a longshoreman's hook. So it goes through Antares and upwards through the tail. So it's quite an interesting thing there. And then you've also got some other interesting objects in the area as well, which we will be coming to. And right, so what do we have elsewhere? We also have a nice globular cluster, the M4, which is just to the west of Antares, and is quite a nice globular cluster to look at with a pair of binoculars as well. So Lou, get your sea star out for that one. And we've also got an interesting fact here that a lot of the brightest stars are in a galaxy which is all moving together as part of the Scorpius Centaurus OB association. And the OB are the grades of stars, and these are the blue supergiants. So we're quite an interesting collection there, and it's one of the closest OB associations of our solar system. So it's quite interesting to see that. I think I've got I haven't got a map. So you obviously look for it in the southern horizon towards the summer period. So it's quite good, and it just goes down near the Milky Way as well. So have a look for that as well. And there are a couple of meteor showers associated. We've got the Alpha Scorpions, which is in May. and the Omega Scorpions, which are out in June. So something else to look out for there. So that's what we can learn from seeing what night sky is in the constellation of Scorpius.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you, Roger.
That's very, very
Okay.
nice. Make sure I turn off the right one. There we go. That's very nice. Very nice. Unfortunately, in my garden, I got too many low trees, so it's hard to get Scorpius. I have to go walk about up in the hills, get some clear horizons. But yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. And like I say, you were talking about some of the mythology. It's sometimes a bit fun just to look up the mythology as regards these. Because the Greeks in the Northern Hemisphere, the main constellations literally tell a story.
Yes.
They're all sort of like linked, like you said, Scorpius and Orion are on the opposite sides, so they will never meet because Scorpius was sent to kill Orion because he vowed to kill everything, hunt everything. He said he could
Yeah.
kill everything. So yeah, it's always fun just to get into some of these mythologies, and some of the Greek mythology is, especially when you get back to the Tritons, they're a very dysfunctional bunch, to be quite honest. But it's fun to read and to it tells the story, and if you can link them to the stars, it just adds to the enjoyment of when you're looking at the stars and oh yeah, there's Orion, because you got Orion, he's hunting the bull, Taurus, who is chasing the seven sisters, the Pleiades, because he's got desires upon them and so on. And yeah, the whole thing is a complete tapestry telling a story. So yeah, thanks for that, Roger. That's absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
Well, again, I will apologize to everybody for the awful start and the mistakes I've made. I haven't done this for such a long time. I'm glad you found us, and we will basically do better next week. Andy will be back, so I will spend a week in the Noubliette out of the way so nobody can see or hear me, and think about what I've done. And then we'll see you all again with some more. We'll regale you with some more news, and just keep looking up. Look at the skies, enjoy them while you can, and we will see you all again next week. So from
I
all of
won't
us,
be here next. I won't be here next week. It's my birthday.
Oh no!
oh,
Happy
okay.
birthday next week.
Oh, there is a bright side. I mean, there is.
Ow.
Oh, you enjoy yourself, Roger. We'll see you when you get
Right.
I best do the constellation of the week then.
Yes.
yeah. One of Michael's tiddlers.
Oh.
And then what we'll do is, we'll regale you with other tales and all the news that's going on, and it's like things of interest. And of course, as things still go. I mean, it may go, it may not. Artemis 2 may launch on the 1st of April, but that's still a couple of weeks away. But there are some things that are coming up which are going to be very, very, very interesting. So thank you again all for sticking with us. I apologize. And from me and the rest of the panel, bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.